So we're going to be live in 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome everyone to the No Outlet Podcast. And I got to tell you, another first is happening tonight for the No Outlet Podcast, folks. We are in the middle of a great reawakening for one of the most beautiful, useful, and maligned plants in the history of our planet. I am speaking of, obviously, the cannabis plant. And our guest tonight is a warrior on the front line in the fight to bring this majestic cannabis plant back to acceptance and availability that it deserves. He's a busy man with a lot going on, and I really appreciate him being on the show. So without any further delay, please help me welcome to the show Mr. Hughes Pope from Sweet Dirt right in Eliot, Maine. Hughes, thank you for being on the No Outlet Podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
My pleasure. All right, so we're going to play a game called 20 Questions, and it always starts in the exact same place, and that's question number 1. Question number 1, do you believe in karma?
Yes.
Yes.
100%.
I've yet to ask that question and have somebody say no, so it's encouraging to keep the streak going. I just, for whatever it's worth, and you can add your color if you have any, but karma is one of those things that my mom tried to explain that to me when I was 8, 9, 10, 14, probably 18. And I heard her explaining it to me, but it's one of those things in life where until you get to a certain stage in your development, you don't quite get it. But then the minute you get it, you're like, oh, geez, that makes all the sense in the world. You know, what have I been doing this whole time? So I'm a firm believer. And I'm glad you are too.
Yeah, I remember stealing a pack of bubble gum when I was down in the Luther, Bahamas, and my mom caught me with it, knowing damn well that she didn't buy it.
Right.
And she drove me back to the store, and I had to go apologize. And I remember years later, I got robbed, and I thought, well, probably had something to do with some of the stuff I did when I was 8.
Mm. Well, yeah. I mean, it comes back in small ways and big ways, either right away, instantly, or, over a long period of time. But it's there, folks. Believe it. It's true. All right. Question number 2. How does it feel to be one of the first, if not the first, fully vertically integrated marijuana companies in Maine?
It doesn't seem real.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. It's just something I've always done. And the fact that there's this big farm and all these people involved in it now, it's something that I'm mildly desensitized to it because I'm so close to the tree. I can't see the forest often.
Yeah.
But every now and again, a magazine article will come out and, state these facts about the company. I'm like, oh, wow, I'm a part of that. And that was my idea. And yeah, my wife came up with a name for that place. That's pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome. It's so cool. It really is. I got a chance, as you know, to go see your place, and you walked me around. And, I used to have a hemp company many years ago. And at the time, hemp was something where you couldn't, produce anything in the States then. And the idea of marijuana being legal back in the late 90s, early 2000s was like, never. It's never going to happen.
Yeah.
And, outlandish. And then here we are. And it's so great to, it just goes to show us, like, if you do the thing that you really, truly love doing, that brings you joy and that you have a passion for, it ends up working out, and it certainly did for you. So can you please, we've got a full studio audience here that they were lining up outside when they heard you were on, and I've got people listening. So can you please explain for our audience what certified clean cannabis is?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Certified clean cannabis is essentially growing the way Mother Nature intended. You start with some good soil and plenty of sun and love, and you don't add any sort of synthetic inputs. So no blue water, no purple water, no bottles with skulls on them promising increased levels of growth and things like that. And if you have a problem, viewing it as more of a holistic thing.
Right.
If you get sick, it may not be because you just got a cold, but maybe because you're run down and you're tired and you're eating Cheetos all day and you're taking a pill instead of hydrating and getting proper nutrition and sleep. So
there you go.
Very similar that way.
Yeah. I can only speak from personal experience, but I can tell you that I've tried, completely organic marijuana, that I know where it came from and the whole deal, just kind of the way you do it. And then I've tried stuff that it clearly was not that. And I even feel like and some of this is strain related, but I also feel like in the same way that when you're preparing food at a restaurant, I think the energy of the restaurant staff is put into the food, and you can get a meal that's filled with happiness and joy and excitement and laughter. But you can also get a meal
fried and covered in gravy.
Right. But you can also get a meal that's like, filled with angst and anger and distrust. And I think marijuana is the same way. I think that the way that the plant is grown, the way it's cultivated, that energy that's going into it and the chemicals that are not going into it, at the end of the day, give you a different experience when you use it than something to the contrary. So that's one thing I love about your company. You're so focused on that organic, clean, best possible quality product.
We are. And, we do support an awful lot of local growers, and many of which aren't organic by nature, but they love what they do. They put their heart into it. They love it, and they do a really good job with it as well. So there's definitely a little give and take to it. Everybody likes different things, but I agree with you wholeheartedly that the energy that's put into things comes out in the final result.
Right. And obviously being, doing it the way you're doing it, it absolutely is not the easiest way. It's probably way more expensive, way more time consuming, a lot more care. But from your perspective, if everyone were to do that, right? If all of a sudden, I know this probably would never happen, but if there was just across the board, everyone just decided we're all going to do organic, what do you think collectively or cumulatively that would do to the marijuana industry in Maine as a whole?
I think it would bring everybody together, first and foremost. I think we'd have big soil guilds and collectives of inputs. I think that we would definitely lower our carbon footprint. I think we would draw a humongous crowd internationally, likely.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, Blue Hill, Maine is the first thing that I thought of when you mentioned that. They're all working together. They're all kind of going against the grain and growing produce and livestock in a more holistic way.
Wow, that's cool.
I think there'd be a lot less fear and a lot more compassion and understanding, I think. Yeah.
I like that. That's cool. So just out of curiosity, offhand, do you happen to know what company operates the largest cannabis greenhouse in Maine? Not a trick question.
Currently, I think that's us.
I think so.
I'm sure there's going to be a bigger, more robust one in the future that likely won't, but currently, I believe that's us.
Yeah, no, that is you.
Yeah.
That's called a softball. I was on your website looking around, and I'm like, first of all, I kept going back to my hemp years, and I was like, wow, this is so amazing. Like, this isn't found on the dark web. This is like out in the open. It's totally legit. They're making it happen. And, there's a lot of superlatives that go along with your company. And one of them is that you operate. You. Yeah, no, it's really cool. And I've seen it, and it's turbo impressive. Like, it's just beyond anything that I would have imagined. When you read largest cannabis greenhouse, I don't think people really understand what that translates to in physical space and impressiveness in terms of size. So tip of the hat to you there. Good stuff.
It's cool. I was standing on top of a ladder today to take a look at the canopy, and I thought, Jesus, I've never seen so much ganja in one room. This is really cool.
Right. And you don't have to, and it's like, and here it is. Everybody knows it's here. It's like, there's no secrets. That's the thing, it's just really, that's the coolest part. Another cool part. Yeah, no, it's awesome. Another cool part to me is specific to Sweet Dirt is your genetic library, including, heirloom and landrace. I hope I'm saying that right. Strains. Now, was that part, now you ended up there, but was that idea part of the original, like when you and your wife first thought of, hey, we should do this. Was part of your idea back then, like, yes, and we should have part of our goal to be one of the few companies that has these heirloom and landrace strains, or is that just something that it happened that way?
No, it was always a part of the vision. I love this plant, and there's so many different fragrances and tastes, and the quality of the buzz in its pure form before it gets muddled with, the crisscross applesauce of modern genetics. I find that the sensation that I get from them is much more uplifting and less confusing, which I really appreciate because I think too much as it is,
Yeah, I hear that.
I often don't even wear shoes that have laces. I'm lucky to get out the door on time. Yeah, it was always a part of the thing, always a part of the vision, and I'm looking forward to having enough space to do seed increases. And a seed increase is, you've got 6 seeds, you've got 20 seeds, males, females, you sprout them all, and then you let them all pollinate one another. It's called open pollination. And you're increasing the potential genetic variation within the confines of those genetics.
Okay.
So then, after doing a seed increase, then I want to go through hundreds of these Egyptian seeds or 100 of these Punta Rojo or Transkis or Siskis, South Africans and things, and then mix selections from there.
Yep. God, it's just when you're saying this, I'm picturing like the origination of these seeds, and I'm picturing them like coming all the way through to, to plant and to product, and it's like, wow, that's such an amazing, the term. It takes
a lot of time.
It takes a lot of time, right? And then when you're at the end, it's almost like, imagine, I hate to make a correlation between, alcohol and this, but imagine like the most incredible wine cellar that has like, wines from a certain place that only had like 2 seasons of a really good special, grape. And then you've got it from like 50 years ago. And it's almost like, imagine in a few years what you're going to have, in terms of that special high end, top shelf, no one else has it flower. It's pretty cool to think about.
Yeah. And the opportunity to openly research on the internet and in written literature to figure out what the composition of these soils are, the terroir that these things naturally occurred in, and the photo period, the hours of light that these plants got, depending on where they are on the planet, and being able to replicate to what it was. And in many ways, it's like a living antiquity.
Right.
It's something that you can actually sprout and be a part of whatever culture, whatever place of that world and time was. And I think it's really cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Good way to look at it. So I noticed on your website also that all of your flower is hand trimmed. And to the layman, including, I guess, in this case, me and anybody else out there, what's the practical difference in terms of hand trimmed flower and I'm assuming machine trimmed flower?
Trichome preservation.
Okay. So that sounds important. And again, I'm going to take a guess at what that means and correct me. So trichomes are what actually holds the THC. And if you're battering the flower through this machine, I'm imagining you're losing a ton of those trichomes because they're just getting plastered all over the inside of the device, and it doesn't end up in the bag of the customer, where if you're hand trimming it, there's more care given. You're keeping those trichomes intact or as much as you can so that when the person gets it, they've got really what they were supposed to get in the first place. Is that close? Did I lose you with that answer? Are you still there? Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, cool.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. And those little trichomes, have these bulbous, mushroom-like heads on them that, as you said, hold all the leaven, the THC in there. And when you pop those, that degrades into another cannabinoid called CBN. And I think that's where the term dope kind of comes from. The days of people bringing weed over in their surfboards and smushing it and things like that began to degrade it. And then when you consume it, it makes you sleepy and kind of dopey and tired.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, that's just my hunch, because that's, what happens with old weed. You smoke it, you're like, oh man, I'm tired.
We're gonna go with your hunch. I think that's good enough for me to be factual on the No Outlet podcast. Okay, so one of the most exciting things about the legalization of marijuana, not just in Maine but in all the other states, and there are many, is that there are people out there who may have been interested. People that are either dealing with pain, or they're stressed out at work, or they just want to be able to relax but they don't want to drink. And they've been hesitant up to this point to try the product because, many of these people wouldn't even know where to go to get it. But now they've got a place to go, and, they can do all those things that they couldn't do before. So, for example, whether it's a high-powered business executive, a soccer mom, anybody who's looking to get the benefits of marijuana, what would you recommend for somebody who's never really tried it, or maybe not since college, 25 years ago, whatever, but wants to get, give it a try and see if it works for them?
I'd give them the equivalent of O'Doul's, like the near beer of marijuana.
Good idea.
So we have a product, an herb that's called AC/DC by PFuzz. And the AC/DC is predominantly CBD, which is kind of the quick way of talking about hemp.
That's right.
Got next to no THC. It's all CBD. And then the PFuzz is just this purple, wonderful flower that's got plenty of THC. And you put them together and you get a product that's a 2-to-1 ratio of CBD to THC, or a 1-to-1 ratio. And those two compounds, THC and CBD, antagonize one another. So the CBD actually dulls the effects of the THC, but having a little THC present, enhances the CBD. And you go for a little walk and, whatever activity it may be, and you don't quite get stoned, but your presence is, I think, felt, and you're, a little more observant, and you're like, oh, well, I guess this does make me feel a little different. I guess I do think a little bit differently. That's what I would a CBD dominant variety.
I like that. Yeah, it's like the yin and the yang. So is there any, is that similar to, there's a product that my daughter told me about called Dad's Grass, and I guess it's all CBD. Have you heard of that? Dad's Grass.
What's it called?
I think it's called Dad's Grass. Yeah, it's packaged in almost like a cigarette container. I'd never heard of it until 2 or 3 days ago, and she sent me a picture of it. And I guess it's all CBD cigarettes, which.
So that sounds like hemp, whereas this would be just a really low potency cannabis.
Gotcha. I understand.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
But yeah, same vein.
Yeah. Okay. So here's something that kind of make you think and go back in time a little bit. So obviously you're a successful marijuana entrepreneur. Here you are, you've got all these things that we've listed, and we could spend, it used to be my crusade when I was, running Lost Harvest, was the, not just what happened to hemp, but what happened to marijuana. And that injustice is a whole other topic. But my question for you is, what is your first memory or realization that the plant was unjustly or unfairly made illegal? Not just the fact that you knew it was illegal, like for me, that was probably 3rd or 4th grade when then Just Say No started being pushed on everybody. But when was it that it dawned on you that this is like a calculated attack on the plant based in greed?
Good question. Well, when you were asking the question, my initial response would have been when I was 12 years old, after a DARE program class. I actually tried it, and I couldn't stop giggling, and I thought, geez, this is kind of silly. Why is this so bad? But I don't think it was till I was probably 17 when I had a better understanding of the world at large and taxes and privatized prison systems and things like that, and racism, and
sure,
that's probably when that became most apparent to me. The greed and the injustices.
Yeah, the Just Say No for marijuana, that was a failed program from the start. It just, I mean, think about how many people had the exact same experience as you, like, oh, what's that? Oh, it's supposed to be bad. Oh, well, it's not. Turns out it's not bad. So, yeah, it kind of kills the credibility of everything else they're saying.
I also think the power of music weighed heavy on me with that, especially when I first started experimenting with it, because it's something that you consume and there's no hate, there is no greed, there is none of that, and that goes against the grain of what society wants you to support in a sense. In many ways.
No, I dig that. That's really cool, and it's almost like you read my mind. My next two questions are about music. So you've been doing this for a long time. What's the best music to listen to when you're out there tending to your children, the marijuana plants?
Well, definitely varies, but I really like listening to Enya.
Hey, there you go. Nice and mellow, right?
Yeah, I mean, The Dead's great too. The stuff from the 70s, reggae, jazz. I can't think of much that I...
It's probably just like any other job, right? It's like sometimes I go into work and I want to hear Miles Davis, Kind of Blue. Sometimes I go into work and I want to hear Iron Maiden. Sometimes I want to hear, The Dead, 72 in Europe. And it depends on what mood you're in. So I'm sure it's the exact same thing. Here's a different twist on that same question, though. Let's say you took two completely similar seeds, okay, and two completely skilled and similarly skilled craftsmen like yourself. Everything else held constant. The lighting, the water, everything's the same. And in one room, from the minute that seed gets planted all the way up until you harvest it, it's being played Mozart the entire time. That's all it hears, okay? Vibrations or Mozart. In the other room, it's hearing Fugazi and Black Flag and death metal. Now, my question is this. A, is there any difference in the way those two plants will grow? And B, more importantly, is there any difference in the way those plants will make you feel?
Well, based on our previous discussion, I would say yes.
Right? I agree. I think we need to investigate, Hughes.
I think we should do an experiment.
I think we should do an experiment.
I think there's a number of experiments that we need to undertake here.
I agree with that. All right. So you are a parent, which is challenging, and you are also, alongside your wife, again, an entrepreneur in the marijuana space. And I've been one, but not the other. Which one's more challenging, being a parent to two young kids or being the owner of Sweet Dirt?
Being a parent for the kids. Yeah.
When I was writing this question down, I'm like, that's a tough one, because I can just imagine the complexities of what's involved with what you're doing with the business, but they have to pale in comparison with being a parent. I mean, that was my hunch, but I was going to wait and see what you said. And it's interesting that that's what you said as well. I mean, it's not easy being a parent, especially nowadays.
And that's another podcast in itself.
That's another podcast. That's another podcast. All right. So what's next for Sweet Dirt? What should people be looking for if there are people out there who want to learn more about it, if they want to become a customer? Like, where would you point them?
Where would I point them? Well, what to look out for is kind of where my mind went first. You were asking.
Yeah, let's do that.
You're going to see a lot more Sweet Dirt flower. Just as we started to grow, we had a big fire. So we haven't had our own herb for quite some time. I've been growing mine at home, but just haven't had it for the public.
Sure.
So you're going to see a lot of diversity in Sweet Dirt's offerings.
Love it.
And you're going to have more opportunity to capture Sweet Dirt products in other stores. You know, we'll be able to start wholesaling to other entities. And I think people are going to be really surprised when they try something that they either haven't heard of or just generally aren't familiar with and say, wow, that's really reminiscent of something I can't quite put my finger on. And I think they'll keep coming back for more.
That's awesome. And you guys are close to, I know tomorrow's 420. You guys are close to harvest, aren't you?
We are. Yeah. Another 12 days or so. Yeah. Our construction got pushed back. We hoped to have product available for 420.
Yep.
But it won't. So yeah, it'll probably be available in 30 days or so.
Yeah. Hey.
And that'll be a Santa Cruz Blue Dream by Stardog, which is essentially an Afghani.
Nice.
And my attempt at a millennial variety, it's a Dosi Kush Cleaner. So it's a Dosi Dough by a San Fernando Valley OG hybrid.
Oh, wow.
And then we'll have a Gorilla Glue by a Sour Bubble. So it should kind of tame down the buzz on the Gorilla Glue and be a little bit more mellow.
I'm a fan of the Gorilla Glue.
Yeah,
it always seems to work out pretty well.
We'll have a bunch of that coming down in 10 weeks.
Nice.
And that'll be really nice.
That's really cool. And the other question I asked, where to point people, obviously your website is a very nicely designed website. I'm not sure if you did that or if you hired somebody.
Rebecca Henry did it.
Great job. Shout out to Rebecca Henry because it's a very easy to navigate site. It's a very clean site. There's a lot of websites that try to put too much information. And I found myself spending a lot more time on that site, not looking for stuff, but just like, oh, that's cool. And, oh, wow, look at this. And, oh, wow. Whereas a lot of other sites try to give it all to you in too small of a space. It was just an easy read. So nice job, Rebecca.
Well, right on. Yeah. Definitely out of my wheelhouse. A company called iMark helped us down in Amesbury as well.
Oh, cool. Awesome. All right. So let's get away from, we got a few questions left. Let's get away from the marijuana questions. We could keep going, as you said, but there's other things to talk about. For example, the Watermonkey crew speaks very highly of you as a client. My mother started Watermonkey back in 1994. My good friend Roger worked there. My bro worked there. And my question for you is, what's your first memory of seeing and experiencing Watermonkey?
First memory, hearing the cowbell about my dad. Yeah. And Roger in the back saying, woo-hoo! With a big smile on his face and a wave.
That is on brand right there. That's on brand.
And the plume of incense.
Yeah.
And the immediate relaxation I felt. And I remember being really shocked, like how cool it was and just how many things there were to look at. And that's a really special place that your family has.
Yeah, no,
had over the years.
It was a very special place, and it's so funny that you point out. So the smell of incense. This is no joke. I've got tapestries that I got from that store in 1998, and if you take a really close smell, you can still smell the Nag Champa. It's in there. It's deep in those fibers. It's never coming out. And the cowbell and the woohoo and the Roger smile, and it didn't matter who was working, you'd get that same reaction every single time. And I love it because that's what corporate America could never be. Corporate America has money. Corporate America can have a better location. They can have more money in advertising. But when the rubber meets the road, you're not going to get that type of experience because there's no soul, right? What Watermonkey was the complete, in every way, the complete antithesis of corporate America. It had a soul. It cared. It curated its products. They had opportunities to move into a different, bigger location. They had opportunities to expand. And they knew that if they did that, they'd lose quality. So my mom had a store before before Watermonkey, called Mosquito Traders, and it grew to like 6 or 7 stores. But what happened was it lost that magic. So when she went to Watermonkey, she kind of kept that intact because she wanted to keep that feeling. And I tell you, every single person that I've ever met that knows that store would point out the cowbell, the woohoo, the smell, and the smiles and the conversation about whatever was happening that day. So it's so good to hear you say the same thing.
Yeah, the presence that everybody had there was really empowering because all too often, people are so caught up in what they have to do or what they just did wrong or something. And everybody there was so present that it was such a gift for somebody like me to be exposed to that. I really, really appreciated it.
Yeah. That's cool. I like that. And it's really, I asked that question because I wanted to hear the answer, but I asked that question because it brings me back too. It's like, that's part of my, I worked there right out of college and up until, I had to get a quote unquote real job and pay for a family, but it brings me back to that time. So I love talking to people that, saw it at the beginning and it can share their perspective on it. All right. So what is your favorite place, local favorite place to get dinner? And you can answer this 2 ways. You can answer it either quick takeout for the family, but you like it, it's good food, good people, or if, imagine things weren't in the middle of a pandemic and things were just normal, you can go out and eat wherever you wanted to, anytime you wanted to, a place that you and your wife would like to go and enjoy a meal. Or you can answer both of them.
Sure. I'd say Series Street Bakery.
Oh, bravo.
The vibe there, the people there, it's the opposite of so much of what Portsmouth has become. They're kind of one of the last Mohicans. And their rosemary cookie really kind of just sets the day right.
Yeah.
Rosemary chocolate chip cookie, and their lunch specials are killer. And I always have great conversation with folks when I go there. I like that a lot. Let's see. I think that the red Thai chicken pizza at York 54 is outrageous. And taking one of those suckers to the beach, you don't have to feel guilty about getting dirty because then you can just run in the ocean and wash it all up.
There you go. So I love those answers. So first of all, Series Street Bakery. I remember when I was 9 or 10, when I first went to Series Street Bakery, when they were on Series Street. I think they've moved since their original location, but I've never once gone in there ever and had a bad experience with the food, a bad experience with the people. They're always friendly. They're always happy. And it always is fresh. It looks so that's our go-to place for happy birthday cakes. The chocolate chunk is
nice.
Yep. I've probably bought, 50 of those things in the last 15 years. And York 54, anybody who hasn't tried York 54, go check it out. It's among the best pizza in the Seacoast area for sure. They've got a really good selection, and I've never tried the kind that you mentioned, but I just love their pizza and the way they do their whole business there. Great answer.
I hear they put coconut oil in the crust, and that's one of the things that makes it so addictive.
I like that. I did not know that, but that makes sense, and I am addicted. All right, so what is the best concert that you've ever seen?
Oh. I would say the best show that I ever saw was a Ween show.
Nice.
In Portland, Maine, the Portland Pier. And they broke out with David Bowie's Let's Dance just before halftime.
Wow.
It was pretty epic. And the best sound and the best spot was right in front of the Porta-Johns. And for a Ween show, it just seemed really funny and ironic.
So Ween is one of those groups that they never, ever went for commercial anything. They almost were like avoiding it like the plague. But in terms of being talented musicians, being able to be diverse and play a lot of types of music, I mean, if you look at their catalog, they've tried everything. I think they put out a country album. They've tried every type of music, and they've always just done what they wanted to do. So shout out to Ween. Good stuff. And I like that answer. All right, we're down.
No doubt.
Yeah. We're down to the last two questions, and I'm torn which order to give them to you. So I'm gonna give you this one first. All right. So Mount Rushmore, right? Mount Rushmore is a monument in one of the Dakotas. I always forget which one. It's got 4 dead presidents up there. And I don't really like Mount Rushmore that much. So I always try to replace it with the Mount Rushmore of pizza. Like, for example, my Mount Rushmore pizza would have York 54 up there and then 3 others. So my question for you is, what is your Mount Rushmore of funny stoner movies? So, and it could be going back all the way to, Cheech and Chong and anything since then. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a movie where the protagonist or the main people in the movies are marijuana users. It can just be a funny movie that is enjoyable when you've partaken.
Animal House.
Oh, love that. Okay, there's one.
The Point.
Oh, the cartoon?
Yeah, Harry Nilsson.
Yeah, cool. That's my sister's favorite.
What else? I mean, I think The Big Lebowski is hysterical.
Oh.
And I really like, I think it's a Wes Anderson movie called the Darjeeling Grant.
Yeah.
Darjeeling Hotel or
no,
something like that.
I think it's the Darjeeling Limited or Unlimited.
It's about the hotel.
The hotel one. That's the Marigold. Wait.
Not the Marigold.
No, not the Marigold. It's not there because there was one.
Grand Budapest.
Yes, there you go. That's it. Right?
Yeah, I think that's a good one too. Yeah.
Yeah, the Grand Budapest Hotel. Bingo. Great. So we got Animal House, The Point, The Big Lebowski, and the Grand Budapest Hotel. That is a very solid Mount Rushmore of movies right there.
Thank you.
All right. We've come to the end. This is the last question. And you're going to have
PCU. That's a good one.
Oh, PCU. Yeah.
Yep.
That was right at the beginning of the politically correct wave that we are still being drowned by. It's still happening.
Yeah.
It's out there. Okay. So let's imagine you're going to have to suspend your disbelief for this question, which is, not hard for you to do, I'm sure.
Difficult.
So the premise is this. The premise, and let's say it's you and your whole family. So you and your wife and your kids are on this deserted island. Okay. Now on this island, there's shelter, clothing, and the only thing that is weird about this place is that there's only one type of beverage, only one for the entire island, one type of food, and then there's one musical artist you can listen to. Aside from that, you can live. So it's a very cushy deserted island with some weird, fourth dimensional wormhole type stuff where you can only have one set of artistry playing as music, right? So it can be any group or any solo artist. One type of food. There's more food than you can ever eat, so it's never ending, like cornucopia. And then one beverage. What would be your 3 choices for that island?
I would go with water, apples,
okay,
and water, apples, and Probably the Grateful Dead.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, because you could not only take all their studio stuff, right, but you could also take every single show. So in terms of volumes of work, you would have, oh my God, imagine all the bootleg tapes that you'd be able to dive into. That's a very good call. I've asked that question a few times. Nobody's ever said the Grateful Dead, but I like that answer because you need to have variety.
There's enough going on there, you know? They got their gospel, they got their blues, they got your rock and your jazz, and you got your harmonizing and everything. I think it could keep me going on an island long term. And if I had to be super selfish with the answers, I'd say kombucha and sushi.
No, I like that. It's so funny because when I was writing this, I'm like, do I qualify that water's already going to be there? No. I'm just going to leave it and let it go. And that's a very smart and practical first answer. Water, you need that. Thank you very much. All right. Well, listen, we've come to the end. Folks, you should see what's happening here in the audience. They are all smoking their weed right now. They're having a good time. They're giving each other high fives. They're doing hacky sacks. Oh, and by the way, how's that Freedom Flyer holding up? You still digging it?
Oh, killer, man. We're having so much fun.
Oh, good. That's a
we got one in the Kubota, so we get deliveries. We can pass it to the delivery driver.
Beautiful.
We've got them at the lunch spot. Thank you so much for those.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I'm glad they're in the right place. They're getting a lot more use than in a storage container in my closet. So I'm glad I was able to give those to you. So everybody out there, I encourage you to go to sweetdirt.com. Where it's permissible, go to his stores and check him out. He's doing it the right way. I am a huge proponent of everything that his company stands for, and it's a blueprint for the way it should be done. And it's really great to see it happening. I'm glad I was alive to see it. You know what I mean? Like, this is such a triumphant moment, and it has been for a long time. But now we're at a place where you can drive up and down 236, and there's not one, not two, not three, but four marijuana type companies all in a little section right there. And that's so encouraging for where we're going in general. So please, everybody go check out sweetdirt.com. Hughes, I really do appreciate you taking time. I know you're a busy dude. I know you got kids. I know what that's like. And I can't thank you enough for being on the show. Thank you very much. And I hope you guys have a great night.
Well, thank you too. And take a toke for all the people that came before us that put their necks on the line.
Word.
And give thanks.
Yeah. There you go. Respect. I like that.
Cool.
Awesome. Have a great night,
Thank you,
Hughes.
Ethan.
Appreciate it, man.
You too.
Take
Be
care.
well, everyone.
All right. See ya.
Bye-bye.